Other ocean-based consequences of global warming are sea level rise and the melting of Arctic ice. As we read in the NCA report, quote, sea ice in the Arctic has also decreased dramatically since the late 1970s, particularly in summer and autumn. Since the satellite record began in 1978, minimum Arctic sea ice extent, which occurs in early to mid-September, has decreased by more than 40%. This decline is unprecedented in the historical record, and the reduction of ice volume and thickness is even greater. Ice thickness decreased by more than 50% from 1958 and 1976 to 2003 and 2008, end quote. And here we see these trends illustrated in a few different ways. According to the NCA, this figure and data are courtesy of the National Snow and Ice Data Center. The figure on the left clearly shows how rapidly Arctic sea ice has been melting, showing that the 2012 extent is about half of what it was in 1980. And this is a trend that's confirmed in the data, which shows that in 1979, the average September extent was about 3 million square kilometers. As of 2013, this number has dropped down to almost 1.5 million square kilometers. And the average volume has also been reducing in extent, from about 2,800 cubic miles between 2003 and 2008, down to about 1,600 cubic miles between 2011 and 2012. More ice, less ice, who cares? Why should we worry about this? One of the reasons this matters is that rapid melting will affect the animals that live in the North Polar region. As we read in Campbell Biology, quote, polar bears have lost a significant portion of the ice platform from which they hunt. The alarming rate at which glaciers and Arctic sea ice are disappearing is posing an extreme challenge to animals that depend on ice for their survival, end quote. Another reason this is crucial is because there's a positive feedback loop that occurs as oceanic ice melts. The ice is highly reflective, and when it melts, it exposes a larger percentage of the much darker ocean, which absorbs much more heat from the sun, thus accelerating the melting of the remaining ice, exposing even more ocean, which absorbs even more heat, and it just goes on and on like this, quickly melting the ice and quickly warming the temperature of the ocean. The NCA report goes on to write that, quote, water expands as it warms up. This is referred to as thermal expansion, causing sea levels to rise. Melting of glaciers and ice sheets is also contributing to sea level rise at increasing rates, end quote. This is yet another trend that we can simply measure and confirm. Here we see NASA data which measures rising sea levels over time. Since 1880, sea level has risen 226 millimeters, or about 9 inches. Not only that, but the data indicates that the rate of sea level rise is increasing. As the NCA report continues, quote, since 1992, the rate of global sea level rise measured by satellites has been roughly twice the rate observed over the last century, providing evidence of additional acceleration. In recent years, semi-empirical methods have been developed to project future rates of sea level rise based on a simple statistical relationship between past rates of globally average temperature change and sea level rise. These models suggest a range of additional sea level rise from about 2 feet to as much as 6 feet by 2100, depending on emission scenario, end quote. The negative impact this will have on human civilization is considerable. We read the following in Global Climate Change, quote, a rising sea level will put coastal regions of the world at great risk. Cities with large populations, such as those along the Gulf and east coasts of the United States, will be inundated. Bangladesh, one of the world's poorest yet most populous countries, is perhaps the most vulnerable to sea level changes. About 80% of this country is below 10 meters in elevation, and so a 0.5 to 1 meter rise in sea level will permanently flood between 6% and 10% of its land area, and displace between 3.4 million and 17 million people. In addition to worldwide flooding, the rising sea level may contaminate the freshwater supplies of many coastal regions with seawater, end quote. Rising sea levels sounds to me like more space for oceanic organisms to swim around in. The remaining whales that we don't hunt to extinction will be doing backflips out of the water trying to thank us. And what do we really have to worry about here on land? If the sea level rise ever really gets bad, we can always just climb some of the many trees that are prospering thanks to increased CO2 levels. Problem solved. I'm on Patreon. There's a link in the description if you'd like to support my content. I would really appreciate it. There's also social media links in there if you want to follow me there. I'm trying to build up some of those followings. I would really appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe for more videos if you haven't already. Hit the bell, hit the like button, post a fucking comments. All that fun stuff that's standard on YouTube. You know the fucking drill. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this.